He did speak with his expertise and set the tone for the next couple of days. The IPGA is an organization that comes with a great pedigree. We have a small audio visual about that and we'd be glad to play that. Well, Asian, show those vignettes. Thank you very much. Those vignettes definitely gave you an idea of the activities of IPGA, its values, and most importantly, its vision. A lot has been done, and a lot will be done, a lot to look forward to. Ladies and gentlemen, as usual, and as always, we do have a stellar keynote panel, and the headliner for our keynote panel this year was to be the Honorable Union Minister for Commerce of Industry, Government of India, the very erudite and very proactive Honorable Suresh Prabhu. But being in government, you never know what happens from day to day and where we're going to be, so unfortunately I had to cancel at the very, very last moments. But he still has his message for us and he shares his vision and wisdom with us. We have a small audio visual. We have the Honorable Minister's message. Can we roll that, please? Thank you.
I'm very happy that the 4th edition of the Pulses Conclave is taking place and Mr. Bimal Kothari is coordinating it. I wanted to come there, but this is something which is holding me back in Delhi. But let me wish you all the best. We have started working on a Pulses in a big way. My ministry is working on a first time an agri-export policy. Please give me your inputs as to what we can do. Pulses are a very key component of India's food basket. They provide proteins to all those people, vegetarian like me, but also provide a huge nutritional security to people of India. So please work with us. We like to work with you and make sure that we together work on a food security as well as nutritional security for millions of people of India. All the best to you, and my colleague will also join you and work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The Honourable Minister, of course, could not be with us, but we are very privileged to have leaders of governments from all across the world and the movers and shakers of the pulses industry. So without further ado, I'd like to request the Vice Chairman of IPGA, Mr. Bimal Kothari, to please escort on stage our honourable guests. We have the Honourable Charity Ngilu, who is from Kitui County, Kenya, the Honourable Minister. Also we have from Canada, Alberta, the Honourable Minister for Agriculture and Forestry, Sri O'Neill Carlier, and of course, the world-famous leader in Global Pulse. Please welcome the President of Global Pulse Confederation, Mr. Huseyin Arslan, to please join up on stage. Also, the very smiling, soft-spoken gentleman, the Honorary Secretary for IPGA. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the traditions that we have here is welcoming our guests with a smile, a bouquet, and also a shawl. A shawl confers dignity, the dignity of and recognizes the astuteness and of course the experience of our guests. I'd like to request Mr. Jitu Beda to please do us the honors and present this to the Honorable O'Neill Carlier, Minister of Agriculture and Forestry, Alberta, Canada. The shawl is a mark of respect, the bouquet, a mark of welcome. I'd like to request Honorable Sian, who represents the East Zone for IPGA, to please similarly honor the Honourable Minister from Kitui County, Kenya, the Honourable Charity Ngilu. The Honourable Ngilu is the Governor of Kitui County. Ma'am, we thank you for your presence here, and I must once again state that the Honourable Ms. Ngilu is the Governor of Kitui County of Kenya. Also, to the redoubtable Mr. Arslan, I'd like to request Mr. Suresh Agarwal, Vice President IPGA, to similarly honor the President of the Global Pulse Confederation. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this inaugural, it will be a privilege to hear representatives from all across the world and of course the leaders in the pulses trade speak to us. First up is a gentleman who's always smiling, but his views are always frank and forthright. He never pulls any punches, and that's why he's the president of the Global Pulse Confederation. Ladies and gentlemen, to start off this keynote, please welcome Mr. Huseyin Arslan.
Good morning. How are you today? This morning, I don't see very much you are excited because probably you didn't wake up. The people, they went to Taj Mahal yesterday. They got tired and they came late hours. People, they ask me which language you will speak today. 2 years ago, in conclave, where we were? Jaipur. Which language I spoke there? Not Hindi. Actually, you translated. It's which language they speak in Jaipur? Marwadi. Okay. It is good. So nobody knows when we made the conclave last year, or few people knows, and very few people knows what language Jaipur people are talking. These questions was to wake you up. I know most of you know that. This year I will continue in English because I am planning to start with Hindi in Colombo next May. As you know, Global Pulse Confederation is going to have a conference in Colombo, and but there is only one condition. If the registration from India goes above 150 delegates, I will start with Hindi. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay, because up to now the performance of India is not good. Turkish registrations are more than Indians. So all this conversation was to wake you up. This is a forward-looking statement. I always say, you listen me with precautions. I may not tell the truth always. I may speak diplomatically. Sometimes the numbers can be different than actually are. So I would like to, when we start with the problems, I would like to thank to Ms. Chandrasekhar for the prayer for the Lord Ganesh, because this year our industry needs a lot of prayers. We faced a lot of challenges in last year. What was the reason for this? It is obvious here. So one of them is global oversupply. And second one is non-tariff trade barriers. Dear Pulse industry members, you should know this word, non-tariff trade barriers. This is one of the important lessons that we are taken in our business life. So what example we can give for this? Like today, to export to India, you need a methyl bromide fumigation. But in the world, people, with Montreal Protocol, this is limited, and ultimately this likes to be banned. And what is the example of another trade barrier on this methyl bromide? To fumigate with the methyl bromide, the standard varies between 32 gram to 48 gram per meter cube, and you need to fumigate it around 21 centigrade degree. So how many days in Saskatchewan and Alberta you have above 21 centigrade degree? You don't have? We have witness. from Alberta. Means practically, this is a trade barrier. Sorry, I couldn't learn enough. Non-tariff trade barrier. So this is the example for this. And another thing we are used to with price volatilities. This is our job. But we are not used to uneven-handed decision. So we have to, we don't know what kind of insurance we can take on this. And this decision maker should understand one thing. If India gets fever and pneumonitis, world gets heart attack in the pulse industry. So when world gets heart attack in pulse industry, everybody should understand that India is also in this world. So the measures and decisions has to be taken carefully, even-handed, and thinking the future. This is an important point. Even-handed decision, this is important for the future of our industry. And growing of population, all the other things, we know that these are the main factors that driving our interests. So what are the fast-changing dynamics of the world? When you look at it, middle class is growing in India. Middle class is growing everywhere, but when the middle class is growing in India, the effect of this is that people in middle class, they will consume more pulses than grain. So this is going to be the effect of the consumption. People, they like to eat more pulses, especially in traditional markets, when the price is affordable. Today, the value of the prices, people in the world says that it is dropped. Sorry, my friend, it is not dropped. This is the nominal levels. Pulse prices to be around 400 and 600 levels in US dollar terms, it is normal. We used to trade in these levels because pulse is rotational crop. And people, they have to plant it because of the environment and because of the soil, because of the future of the food. But the nominal prices are now exist. What will happen with these nominal prices? We think that with these nominal prices, consumption in the world will increase. Like in several traditional markets in Middle East, like in Turkey, let's give an example, we started to see less serving of pulses because of the high prices. They were changing let's say, instead of lentil soup, they were doing yogurt soup or the wheat soup. So the consumption was steadily reducing because of the high prices. And same thing is in India. And when you say that Indian consumption is, everybody has different numbers, but let's take it or leave it. Let's say take the average of everybody is 23 million tons. With low prices, if consumption goes 10% more, this means 2.3 million ton effect on the stocks level. So this temporary period is not good for our industry, that we are suffering a lot, everybody is suffering. With the things beyond our control. But I believe the pulse consumption with low prices will trigger more than the previous levels. With the addition of the non-traditional market consumptions, this will also have a great effect on the consumption levels. So what we need balance. If you see there is no balance on this, why we don't have the balance on this one? I don't know, my secretary put this one. I would put rather the balance here, but there is always imbalance, imperfections in the world. This is the nature's creation. But our job is to try to balance all these things. Production is increased, but as you see, our expectation in 2018 in this 4 key commodities, I believe, will be less. It will be because of the carryover and plus farmers, I think they will slightly shift this year, and next year they will shift more if this price things continues. So high tide of the high prices we used to do surf on this high tide is going to be over. So this is, for us, we as traders, we don't really care about the prices. We want stability. So why we need pulses and why farmer needs pulses? Now I will run a video after this slide, and this is, I will tell the importance of this video. Do you value water? Can you run the video? So 71% of the earth is water, and 4% is fresh water, 0.5% is safe for human consumption. Can we repeat this again? So 71% of the earth, as you see, is water. But 4% only is fresh, and 0.5% is fresh. So what is happening because of this? One of the important things that happens is that the usage. When you look at this table, I put this slide several times in my presentations. To produce the pulses, you need around 400 milliliter water. I mean, with the rain, etc. This is the minimum almost requirement on all vegetations. But to make, to produce, when you look at here, for the rice you need at least 2.4 kilogram of water. Like, do we have Egyptians here? Safe, yeah, Safe is from here. Egypt is trying to reduce the area for the rice because of the high consumption of the rice. And I gave one of the examples, our friend Ajay Jain, he told me, Mr. Huseyin, this rice needs more water when you produce, but also you need more water after consumption. Also, you have to drink a lot of water. So the rice production is increasing the rice production is also, you need to increase the water need of all the rice. So in Egypt, they try to limit it because they have an issue of Nile. With the less Nile, they have to use more effectively the water. So, and the safest way, let's say the sure way to produce with less water is the grain and also pulses. How you can replace rices? There is an application. It's the bulgur. Like in Middle East, the people they are using bulgur, they are replacing rice with the bulgur. And also in North Europe, this started. It's with very low glycemic index, and it is helping and healthy, and suggested by the doctors also for the lower glycemic index and dietary needs. Food waste and loss. I like to repeat always this one. 1/3 of everything we produce in the world is waste or lost. And 1/3 of this is mostly in, like if you take the average, in developing countries, 1/3 of this loss is happening from the beginning of the harvest, beginning of the planting till the harvest and milling. And after that, the loss is very less in developing countries. So the waste in the table, like in India, because I believe the religions and tradition, you have small pots to consume. This is reducing a lot of waste on the table. And also in Middle East countries also, In most of them, this is less. But when you look at the production and the industry level, this is very, very big. But when you go to the developing countries like USA and Canada, it is opposite. The waste on the after the table is much bigger than the developing countries. So we have to take care of this one. And there is a slide also here with food and waste lost by commodity. You can do this as a homework, you can study on this one. And another thing that is I want to mention and underline is best before or expiry. Pulse never expires. You can consume anytime you want if it is not infested. We put 2 years shelf life in most of the pulses all over the world, but frankly speaking, you are in the business, it can get infested in 6 months also. So there is no guarantee that whatever we put on the package, 2 years or whatsoever, is not guaranteeing that this will be the good for the consumption. In any case, you have to look at it, whether it is good or not still. Like for the canned product, you can it because to preserve it the longer. And most of the time for the canned pulses, they put 3 years. There is no expiry. If the shape of the can is good, you can still consume it. I think in Canada they have, in most provinces, I don't know the Alberta, but they have a word called best before, which means suggested. So that's why we, instead of using the expiry term, we should say suggested. This will reduce a lot because now our brain is automatic. When you look at it, oh, let me see the expire date. Sorry, there is no expiry in the pulse products. And here is the famous words I always say. This picture, I'm sorry, Minister, this picture is taken in Saskatchewan. Next time you give me the Alberta one, I try it. So this is a farm. You see the magnitude. And I explained the picture's reason before this in Vancouver. People that they listen me in Vancouver, they could learn the story of this picture. I will not tell the story now. I will tell the story of this picture in Colombo, during GPC convention. So 40 years, next 40 years, we have to produce the food that we produced last 10,000 years. People, they say, how comes? I say, during year 0, what was the world population? What do you think? Year 0 means 2,000 years ago. It was less than half of India today. So this is a big challenge for us. So we have to work environmental products and quality products, and we should work with the pulses and to introduce and to tell the reality of the pulses that who doesn't still know it. From here on, I would like to show this key message and conclusion, but you can read it at home also if you have time. I would like to thank you very much that you listened me for patience, and I see you better than I started now my conversation today. Thank you very much.